My next guest, he's here because he's coming off a win. We wouldn't be talking about a loss here. It was a big one, too, over Roosevelt Roberts on The Ultimate Fighter, Season 31. It's Austin Hubbard back here on the program. Austin, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing fantastic, but not as good as you, though, man. Congratulations on the big win over Roosevelt Roberts, who I think, you watched that first fight on the season. I think a lot of people felt like Roosevelt was going to be the favorite. First, before we talk about the performance itself, was it tough fighting a fellow Team Chandler teammate?
Yeah, it was pretty tough. It was a strange situation. I've never had a situation like that in my MMA career, where you're living together, training together every day and become good friends. You're even rooming together and everything. It was definitely a learning experience. And, I think it was a very odd experience, but I think I'll, get a lot of like learning out of that. So, at the end of the day, I'm glad it kind of played out, the way it did, because it is a good learning experience. And I think it'll help me going forward for sure.
Have you ever had that situation before where you fought like a teammate or like a former training partner or anything like that? Or was this the first time something like this had ever happened?
So yeah, I used to back. I think this was like my sixth, maybe seventh pro fight. I fought a former teammate, but it wasn't quite like this where
Yeah, you're not
leading
living
up
with
to
them
it.
and stuff,
Yeah,
yeah.
like we trained together when I was an amateur, and then I moved to Colorado, and we spent years apart in our own training camps, and then fought. So I had a slight idea of what that would be like, but not to the extent that I experienced on Ultimate Fighter.
Who was the team? Who's the former training partner you fought?
Eric Wisely.
Oh yeah, I know Eric. Right? Yeah, he fought in the UFC. I remember Eric.
Yeah.
Actually saw one of
Yep.
his fights ages ago. Okay, well that's interesting that happened. What was the game plan going into the fight with Roosevelt? Obviously, a pretty big guy for the weight class.
Yeah. So, and he's very good. He's very skilled. He has very good boxing, very fast, powerful boxing strikes and whatnot. So, for me, I knew it was important to stay moving. And I think we seen that in my fight, the footwork and movement, the feints, the body work, that and kicks, that was, the keys to my success in that fight. I knew I couldn't, get in a brawl with him. I knew I couldn't stand in front of him and just be chucking, because he would have definitely capitalized on that sort of fight. And yeah, I feel like I stuck to my game plan and did what I needed to do to win that fight. So.
And you mentioned it there, obviously very familiar with Roosevelt, being on the same team and all that. Was there anything in the fight that maybe surprised you a bit, or was it all pretty much what you expected?
It was all pretty much what I expected. Literally leading up to that fight, we trained together, pretty much every day, through that experience up until we found out we were fighting each other. And then we didn't, quite do all of our rounds together. But up before that, we did pretty much everything together. So.
How confident were you going to the scorecards?
I knew it was a close fight. I felt that the difference maker was round one. But I felt like I was a little more active. I threw a little more diversity in my strikes with the kicks and punches and chaining it all together in the movement and pressure forward. And I knew that was a close round, but I did feel like I did enough to win. And then obviously round two, I won. And then I gave him round three, in after the fight in my mind. So yeah, I felt I won rounds one and two, and I would give him three, and I won the fight.
And on the other side of the bracket, we kind of have a fun fight here, just in terms of where they're both from, right? You've got Jason Knight taking on Kurt Hollaba.
Yeah.
Is there like what do you think of that? I mean, I know you know the result, like we don't yet, but what do you sort of think of them being, making it this far? Were you expecting them to fight each other? I guess would be my question.
I'm gonna be honest. Me and Roe both kind of thought that they would kind of put us on the opposite sides, in that he would fight either Jason or Kurt, and I would fight either Jason or Kurt, and kind of give it the opportunity to meet in the finals type of thing. But that's not the way things played out. And yeah, that their fight's gonna be fun too.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
And you know, and again, we have to be careful what we say here because I know obviously, like,
Yeah.
you know, there's stuff that's like top secret. How tough is that? Like, you know, all this stuff, you know, especially in your situation, like you're in the finale, you knew when the show started that you were going to be in the finals. Like, how tough has that been to keep that a secret?
Yeah, it's been hard because especially since like I live in Illinois now, and then I come out to do my training camps in Colorado still.
Interesting. Okay, when did you do? Sorry to interrupt. When did you do that? Because I know you were living in Colorado before, like full time. Were you not?
Yeah. I lived in Colorado the past 7 years up until just before Thanksgiving. Actually, we had to move back home to Illinois just for financial reasons. You know, when I got released, you know, things got, you know, pretty tight financially, and I wasn't getting any opportunities, and it's pretty dang expensive out here in Colorado.
No,
So,
I bet. Yeah.
and I have, you know, support a family and stuff, and I had to we couldn't make it anymore, so we had to move back home, and then luckily this opportunity came up. So but yeah, you know, I coming out to Colorado for my training camp now. Of course, people are like, "What are you doing out there?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm just training." You know, like, do you have a
right.
fight?
Yeah, it's kind of giving it away a bit. Yeah, that makes sense.
So it was, it's nice that, you know, that my semifinal aired, and everyone knows I'm in the finals now. So I like they take, you know, leaks pretty serious, and you know, I don't want to give nothing away, but it's kind of, you know, easy to put two and two together. I came out here training. So I'm sure some people had an idea of what's going on.
Right. No, that makes sense. And I imagine also, like, with you moving back, like, I'm sure I imagine, is your family back there too? Cause you don't have kids now, but I'm assuming you and your wife would want to have kids, right?
Yeah. And yeah, they are back there. I do have a stepdaughter.
Okay, nice.
But yeah, we don't have any kids together yet. But yeah, so they're back home. And my wife is actually out here visiting right now. She leaves today, unfortunately. But
oh man, I'm cutting into visit time with your wife here. I feel terrible, but no, yeah, that makes sense.
All right.
No, it's all good. But no, the reason I bring it up is because, like even for myself, like my wife and I, we were living in out east, and then part of the reason we moved back to where I'm from is just to have that help with the kids. So that was one of the reasons I thought too, because it does make a big difference when you don't have any help with your children, right? It's a tough
absolutely.
go. So yeah, that's interesting. Well, that's interesting. I must kind of miss Colorado a little bit though, just because you're around the teammates all the time, right? And I know you and Curtis is also from Illinois originally. I think Neil Magny too. So it's like, you know, I'm sure a lot of you guys made that move years ago, right? So
yeah, I'm actually staying at Neil's while I'm out here. So
nice. One of his many houses. The guy's like Monopoly, right? So he's done quite well for himself. Well, that's cool.
He did.
That makes sense. Speaking of your team, how cool was it seeing Justin Gaethje get that win the other night?
Oh, it was awesome, man. I was so happy for him. That was such a huge fight, and even a bigger result, you know what I mean? Like with the knockout in the second round. It was good to see. You know, it was a great first round. I in my mind, I gave him the first round, and then he came out and obviously knocked him out in the second round. I was very happy for him, and then winning the BMF title, and you know, that a lot of good things are gonna come with that. You know, I'm just super happy for him. And, you know, it's always scary seeing teammates go into, you know, a war like that. And, you know, you don't ever want to see him get knocked out or anything like that. So it's good he came out, you know, pretty unscathed.
And kind of a bit of revenge too, because obviously Usman got the head kick knockout loss against Leon Edwards in Utah, and Gaethje kind of got that one back, right, for your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Like, how weird is that though? That's like someone's doing something behind the scenes there. That's a little like the same knockout in the same area and almost around the same time of year. It was pretty nuts, right? So
yeah, that is pretty nuts.
That's crazy. Sort of my last question, and again, not revealing too much. Do you plan to train with a lot of your teammates that you had on this season or people that you met? Like, I know that's one of the things with the Ultimate Fighter is you develop these friendships, and I'm sure there'll be some cross training in the future. Do you plan on doing that, or guys maybe coming to you type thing?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I there's a lot of cool people, luckily, on that season, and I would love to, you know, do some cross training and see all of them. And I definitely plan to. So it's just a matter of time.
Yeah, that's great, man. Austin, thanks so much for doing this. We're excited to see who you end up fighting in the finale here. Any idea when that might be? It's probably going to be next year, right? Because they haven't announced the date yet.
For Chandler and McGregor or the
Just
finals?
your finals. I guess you don't know when your fight's going to be. I guess they'll announce it. I guess if we're going to ballpark it, I know you can't reveal too much, but it'll be soon. I'm guessing, right?
Yeah, so the season ends August 15th, and then typically I think it goes into the live finale.
Right.
So I think, August 19th might be. I'm not sure.
Yeah, yeah. So you probably
um
will fight this year, is kind of what I'm getting at. We don't have to.
yeah,
Again, I
yeah.
don't think that's spoiling anything. I think most people feel like if you're fighting on the show, you're going to be fighting at some point this year. They wouldn't delay it till next year. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
that makes sense. There you go. And anything you want to mention before we get out of here? Sponsors, social media, anything like that? The floor is yours.
Yeah, you can find me at Austin Hub with 2Bs155 on Instagram. Tune in, follow the journey, and that's all.